Ukraine just achieved a historic milestone in its fight against Russia. For the first time ever, Ukrainian forces deployed a powerful European missile system to neutralize a Russian military asset. But this strike wasn't just tactical, it was strategic, sending a direct and pointed message to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Even amid uncertainty about ongoing U.S. military aid, Ukraine still has the means to eliminate some of Russia's most critical military targets using European weaponry. This development is a major breakthrough for Ukraine, but it also sparks several important questions. What exactly occurred during the missile strike? Which missile system did Ukraine employ? And why does the successful use of this missile matter so much to Ukraine's defense strategy moving forward? On March 11th, Forbes' military analyst David Axe broke the news of this significant event. He confirmed Ukraine had utilized one of its two samp-t surface-to-air missile systems to shoot down a Russian combat aircraft, marking the first time Ukraine successfully engaged a Russian aerial target using this European-made technology. This achievement represents a crucial win for Ukraine. At a time when the United States seems uncertain about its continuing level of military support, Ukraine's successful use of the samp-t missile signals clearly that Kyiv can depend on European defensive systems to secure its airspace. Yuri Inat, a spokesperson for Ukraine's Air Force, publicly confirmed the success of the strike, stating simply, "There is a confirmed aircraft." United 24 Media further detailed Inat's comments, reporting that Ukraine's samp-t system took down a Russian Sushka aircraft along with additional aerial targets. It's currently unclear which specific type of Russian Su-series aircraft Ukraine brought down. Several possibilities exist. Russia frequently employs Su-34 bombers to launch glide bombs from within its own airspace. These bombs, originally developed during the Soviet era, weigh as much as 1.5 tons and can glide toward targets nearly 37 miles away, thanks to special wing attachments. Although these glide bombs lack precise accuracy, precision is often unnecessary because their chief advantage is enabling Russian aircraft to drop bombs from behind frontline positions, protecting the bombers from Ukraine's defenses. However, if Ukraine has managed to take down a Russian Su-35, it would mark an even more notable victory. Introduced in February 2008, the Su-35 represents one of Russia's most sophisticated fighter aircraft. It's a significant upgrade from the older Su-27, with speeds reaching up to 1,485 miles per hour and the capability of carrying highly precise guided munitions, including the KB-500S satellite-guided bombs. Destroying even one Su-35 would deal a serious blow to Russia's air capabilities, as Moscow reportedly has only around 100 of these fighters in its fleet. A single loss significantly impacts Russia's aerial effectiveness, especially if combined with potential losses of the similarly limited Su-34 bomber fleet. Yet, which specific Su-series aircraft Ukraine targeted is secondary. For Ukraine, the main headline revolves around the missile platform itself, the samp-t system. But why exactly is the samp-t system such a crucial asset for Ukraine? First, let's clarify what the samp-t missile system actually is. Originating in France, the Aster 30 samp-t is a sophisticated surface-to-air missile platform designed to defend against various aerial threats. Apart from targeting aircraft, it's capable of neutralizing drones, cruise missiles, and tactical ballistic missiles. Created by the European consortium Eurosam, the samp-t system is utilized by multiple countries, including France, Italy, and Singapore. The development of this system began in 1990 and spanned nearly a decade before entering qualification testing in 1999. However, extensive full system testing only commenced in 2005. Still, initial tests demonstrated considerable effectiveness, with the system successfully intercepting a C-22 target aircraft flying at an altitude of nearly 23,000 feet and over 85,000 feet away. This successful demonstration proved the samp-t system as a highly capable long-range defensive missile. So, what exactly makes up the samp-t air defense system? A single samp-t battery, Ukraine currently has two, comes equipped with 6 transporter erector launchers, each capable of holding 8 missiles. This setup enables a single battery to unleash up to 48 missiles in one powerful strike. Alongside these launchers, the system includes a dedicated command and control vehicle and an Arabelle radar, all connected to advanced computer systems that provide real-time tracking of airborne threats. The Arabelle radar is perhaps the most impressive component of the samp-t system. The upgraded version integrated into Ukraine's defenses is capable of detecting targets at an extraordinary range of 372 miles. This long-range scanning ability allows it to effectively intercept incoming ballistic missiles while also keeping an eye on Russian aircraft preparing to launch glide bombs from behind the front lines. Now, let's talk about the missiles themselves. The samp-t system uses Aster 30 Block 1 missiles, which are equipped with a seeker, fuse, and a directional blast warhead. This warhead is particularly important because when it detonates, the explosion directs high-speed fragments toward the target, ripping through armor and causing catastrophic damage. Each Aster 30 missile comes with an initial booster stage, measuring about 7.5 feet in length and weighing close to 750 pounds. However, once the missile is airborne, it sheds this booster, leaving a lighter, highly maneuverable warhead section weighing 242 pounds to make contact with the target. With a top speed of 3,141 miles per hour and a range of up to 62 miles, the Aster 30 is more than capable of taking down nearly every Russian fighter jet currently in service. Given that the samp-t battery can unleash 48 of these missiles in rapid succession, any Russian aircraft caught in its crosshairs stands virtually no chance of escape. All of this makes samp-t an incredibly powerful and advanced weapon, which is why it has become such an important part of Ukraine's defense strategy. But the significance of the system goes beyond its raw capabilities. samp-t isn't just another advanced weapon in Ukraine's arsenal. It may soon become its primary long-range air defense system. Why? Because it serves as Europe's answer to the American Patriot missile system, which Ukraine has relied on extensively against Russian forces. But there's a catch. Ukraine may soon need to replace its Patriot batteries with samp-t systems. One of the biggest reasons is that Russia has been increasingly successful in targeting Ukraine's Patriot systems. December 2024 saw a devastating attack in which Russia managed to take out 4 Patriot batteries, part of a broader campaign by Putin to erode Ukraine's air defense capabilities. According to Russia's Ministry of Defense, this attack focused on neutralizing Patriot radars and launchers, along with striking airfields, supply depots, and strategic equipment across 124 locations. The assault was carried out using Russia's Iskander-M ballistic missiles, which are designed to bypass traditional air defense systems. According to the Mer news agency, Russia has reportedly destroyed at least 30 Patriot systems as of December 2024. However, these claims remain questionable. Back in August 2024, Politico reported that Ukraine was operating just 5 Patriot systems, 2 supplied by the US and 3 from Germany. This discrepancy raises doubts about the accuracy of Mer's figures, particularly since their report is based on a claim made by Novosti, a state-controlled Russian media outlet. It's entirely possible that Russia is exaggerating its success in targeting Patriot systems, attempting to paint a picture of greater military dominance than it has actually achieved. Alternatively, the figure could refer to the destruction of 30 individual Patriot missiles rather than full systems. On March 4th, President Donald Trump made a decisive move by halting all U.S. military aid shipments to Ukraine. This sudden suspension blocked weapons that were already en route to Kyiv, as well as billions of dollars in financial aid that had been promised before Trump assumed office. At the time, the decision was widely interpreted as an attempt to pressure Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky into negotiating with Vladimir Putin. It also followed a tense meeting between the two leaders at the White House, which reportedly turned confrontational. Trump was said to have criticized Zelensky for a lack of gratitude toward the U.S., while also describing him as disrespectful. Just days later, on March 8th, Trump doubled down by implementing a ban on U.S. military intelligence sharing with Ukraine. This restriction also affected Kyiv's European allies, placing Ukraine in an even more vulnerable position by cutting off access to critical targeting data. Seizing the opportunity, Russia wasted no time in launching a massive missile and drone assault, knowing Ukraine's defensive capabilities had been severely compromised. These two developments, the aid cutoff and the intelligence blackout, significantly weakened Ukraine's ability to operate the Patriot missile systems. Without a steady supply of missiles from the U.S., Ukraine's ability to effectively use its Patriots would be severely diminished. Even if Kyiv could source new missiles from European partners, the intelligence sharing ban would still render the system far less effective, as it relies heavily on advanced radar data and real-time target tracking. If the situation had continued along this trajectory, Ukraine's Patriot defenses would have become nearly useless. But then, an unexpected shift occurred. On March 12th, Ukrainian and U.S. representatives met in Saudi Arabia to discuss a potential ceasefire in the war. After 8 hours of negotiations, they reached an agreement. Ukraine would implement a 30-day ceasefire, provided Russia agreed to do the same. Zelensky's willingness to negotiate appeared to soften the U.S. stance, leading Washington to reverse course. As a result, the aid freeze was lifted and intelligence sharing with Ukraine resumed. For now, Ukraine is once again receiving American military assistance, and its Patriot systems are back in action. The focus now shifts to Putin, who must decide how to respond to the ceasefire agreement. At least for the moment, the US appears to be standing firmly behind Ukraine. The big question, however, is how long this renewed support will last. The past few months have been a whirlwind for US-Ukraine relations, with abrupt policy shifts creating constant uncertainty. While American aid is currently flowing again, Zelensky has no guarantees that this will continue indefinitely. Much depends on Putin's next move. If the Russian leader refuses the ceasefire terms, it could work in Ukraine's favor. Trump may interpret this refusal as proof that Putin isn't serious about peace, which could lead to even greater U.S. military support, including more Patriot systems and missiles. On the other hand, Putin might take advantage of the ceasefire negotiations to push for concessions. If he frames himself as a leader seeking peace while offering terms that undermine Ukraine's sovereignty, the situation could become precarious. If Ukraine rejects those terms, Trump may see it as an unwillingness to compromise, potentially leading to another reversal in U.S. policy, cutting aid and intelligence once again. In this unpredictable environment, Ukraine is likely viewing its samp-t systems as a crucial backup plan. The debate over whether Patriots are superior to samp-ts is ongoing. Ukraine has more experience operating the Patriot system, which has proven highly effective. However, with U.S. support fluctuating, Ukraine now has concrete proof that European samp-t batteries can hold their own against Russian air power. The successful strike on March 11th demonstrated that even if the political landscape shifts again, Ukraine has a viable alternative to continue defending its skies. How does the samp-t system stack up against the Patriot? The answer isn't entirely clear just yet. More confirmed engagements will be needed to draw a direct comparison. However, what is clear is that Ukraine may have to rely on European weaponry more than ever, because if U.S. support wavers, samp-t and its powerful missiles could be the only reliable defense against Russian aerial threats. Of course, there's another possible outcome. What if the ceasefire negotiations mark a turning point for Ukraine? Regardless of how Putin reacts, U.S. military aid and intelligence sharing may continue uninterrupted. If that happens, Ukraine's Patriot systems remain fully operational, and the introduction of samp-t wouldn't just serve as a fallback, it would be a game-changer. It would allow Ukraine to create an even stronger, more layered air defense strategy. David Axe highlighted this in his Forbes report on Ukraine's samp-t strike. He pointed out that with 2 samp-t batteries now in operation alongside existing Patriot systems, Ukraine's total missile defense infrastructure has grown to 7 key batteries. In theory, that should be enough to provide air coverage for all of Ukraine's major cities. That aligns with what President Zelensky had previously requested. In April 2024, he stated that Ukraine needed at least 7 Patriot systems to properly defend its urban centers. At that point, Russia had already launched a staggering number of attacks: 1,200 missiles, 8,500 glide bombs, and roughly 1,500 drones within the first 4 months of the year alone. Now, with samp-t proving itself in combat, Ukraine finally has a reliable alternative. Given that several Patriot systems have been lost in 2024, integrating samp-t into the country's air defense network makes perfect sense. Together, these systems form a critical shield, allowing Ukraine to intercept Russian aircraft and missiles before they can inflict damage. At the very least, samp-t's success means Ukrainian forces have another tool to take out enemy warplanes, easing the burden on Ukraine's embattled cities. And if Ukraine maintains strong diplomatic ties with both the US and Europe, additional reinforcements, whether more missile systems or increased munitions, could soon follow. Europe seems committed to providing long-term support. The question is whether the US will remain just as steadfast. Still, Ukraine faces a major challenge. Even with both the Patriot and samp-t systems in play, one critical problem remains: missile shortages. Axe notes that the Patriot missile production rate is currently limited. Lockheed Martin manufactures around 500 Patriot missiles per year, a figure they plan to increase to 650 by 2027. A new production facility in Germany will further expand output to 750 missiles annually, but that plant isn't expected to be fully operational for some time. While these numbers seem high, they don't tell the full story. Each Patriot launcher can hold either 4 PAC-2 missiles or 16 PAC-3 missiles. And in a large-scale engagement, a single launcher could expend all of its missiles in a single defensive operation. When viewed in this context, even an increased annual production of 750 missiles could still prove insufficient to meet global demand. For samp-t, the supply issue is even more severe. In 2022, France and Italy jointly ordered 700 Aster missiles, the primary munition for the system. Then, in early March 2024, those two countries, along with the UK, agreed to produce an additional 220 missiles. While some of these will likely be sent to Ukraine, they weren't specifically purchased for that purpose. Instead, they're part of larger rearmament programs meant to replenish European stockpiles. This means that while Ukraine may receive some Aster missiles in the short term, it won't be a priority recipient. The newly produced missiles will likely replace those that France, Italy, and the UK have already sent to Ukraine. Worse still, Aster missiles take a long time to produce. European defense contractor MBDA manufactures them in batches, but even under optimal conditions, it takes roughly 2 years to build a single missile. If Ukraine exhausts its current supply of Asters by the end of 2025, it could face a long wait, potentially until 2027, before new stock becomes available. And as Defense Express reported on March 11th, Ukraine is already running low. Beyond missiles, the availability of the samp-t system itself is also a concern. Before donating a unit to Ukraine, France only had 10 of these missile batteries. Italy had even fewer, just 6, with one now stationed in Ukraine. Singapore also possesses a small number of samp-ts, but given regional security concerns, it has little reason to part with them. So even if missile supply isn't the immediate bottleneck, the limited number of actual launch systems could be a problem in the future.